your visa to a better future. World Connect, you can have the life that you desire. World Connect will get you there. World Connect. Our World Connect, your visa to a better future. World Connect, you can have the life that you desire. World Connect will get you there. World Connect will get you there. World Connect.
Yes, kan ako. Right.
Future proof of your career in New Zealand. Okay.
You always wonder a better place with loved ones by your side. Set aside your worries and all complexities. Let us guide you so you will feel at peace. Your dream of a better life is reachable. At World Connect, we'll make it possible. Our World Connect, your visa to a better future. World Connect, you can have the life that you desire. World Connect will get you there. World Connect. At World Connect, prioritize your needs. We'll help you in every step until you succeed. We offer you convenience and our expertise. Let us guide you in your journey to your dreams. Your wish to be in a better place is reachable. At World Connect, we'll make it possible. We are World Connect, your visa to a better future. World Connect, you can have the life that you desire. World Connect will get you there. World Connect.
And we are live. Good morning, Philippines, and good afternoon, New Zealand. Welcome to Future Proof Your Career in New Zealand. So you may be here in this webinar because you've got a dream to either study, work, or live in New Zealand. And for Filipinos watching us from all over the world, welcome to today's session because you will get a lot of information and inspiration when it comes to your dreams of moving down there. So before we start, I'd like to welcome everybody in the webinar who have registered. A lot of you, I think we have about 200, participants who have joined us this morning here in the Philippines. And also we have thousands of people all over the world who are watching us during this very special event. So today's session is actually organized by World Connect Consultancy and New Zealand Education to show Filipinos that you have a pathway to move to New Zealand through education. So without extending the introduction too long, I'd like to reintroduce myself. My name is Tinette Cortez. I'm from Consult Asia Global, the training partner of World Connect Consultancy. So to start with, let me just ask you a question. Okay, a lot of you have been messaging me last night saying that, okay, you know, Tinette, I've seen your post, I've seen your picture, and you seem to have had a nice time in New Zealand. And I said, yes. So Carmela, if you would show that slide real quick, let me just show you this picture, why did I put that there? The New Zealand Promise. If you would see, I'm an All Blacks fan. I love rugby. My daughter plays rugby, but I don't smell rugby. That's not good. Okay, so yes, and I've seen the All Blacks play, and I've always been a fan. This photo on the right side on top was taken at the Hookah Falls. And down below, I was sat there, meditating and contemplating with a beautiful view of Lake Taupo in the Northern Ireland. And before I went back to the Philippines, I had to do a lot of shopping for fresh honey. And this photo on the left is actually a real bee, on a flower. And I'm like, I actually saw the whole process of making honey. Of course, I was at first shocked because it was the first time, but it was an absolutely wonderful experience. Why am I sharing this with you guys? Because New Zealand is really one of the most stunning and most beautiful places I've seen in the world. And I personally could attest to that. So when I got invited to host this event, I was very excited because we have 3 special guests today who will be sharing with us a lot of information on how you guys can actually make that New Zealand dream come true. And to start with, I'd like to introduce, of course, somebody, well, just to give you an idea what to expect, by the way. I really hope that you guys stick with us until the end of the session, because we have invited, a student in New Zealand who has already actually become very successful in his career. We're also inviting 2 school representatives who can speak about what they've got to offer to help Filipinos who might want to move over there for education. And of course, we have our World Connect Consultancy Education Agency, our partner, to speak about how you could possibly go through the paperwork and the process and all the nitty-gritty stuff that you need to work on. So guys, really, you're here for a reason. Okay, I'm telling you now, you're here for a reason. And if you are not happy with where you are in life right now, well, this is the time to make that big decision, because I can almost guarantee you are here for a very special purpose. Okay, so with that, let me introduce our first guest. Our first guest is Filipino, of course. He's actually taken a course in business management, major in hotel and restaurant management here in the Philippines. But one day he realized, you know what? I think there's a much better life outside my life here in the Philippines. Not that I'm saying it's bad in the Philippines. Of course, we all love our own country, but to each person, it's really different. I mean, if you have this dream of being somewhere, being in an international educational institution, why not? Why prevent yourself from doing that? And this gentleman actually made that jump. So he took his postgraduate diploma in business administration in New Zealand. And that was one of the best decisions he's made in life, because now he's successfully working as an operations manager in Design Print Partners in New Zealand. So I'd like to welcome our guest for this morning in the Philippines, afternoon in New Zealand, Mr. Reggie Guse. Reggie, good morning from the Philippines. Are you there?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you,
Hello
Tinette.
there.
How are you
Wow.
guys? Thank you for
Yes.
having me here, and I'm happy to
Oh.
be a guest in this webinar.
It's an absolute pleasure. Reggie, kumusta ka dyan? Marunong ka pa ba
We are doing very,
mag-Tagalog?
very well. Yes,
Okay.
of course. Medyo malamig nga lang dito because it's winter now, but
I
we're doing
know.
very, very well.
Good, good. And I can see the lovely photo of your family here. Please tell us a little bit about your story, Reggie, so that we can show our audience and our viewers, what you guys did and why you made this big decision.
Yes. Well, I made this decision when I was still back in Cebu, and although medyo maganda naman ang takbo ng career sa Cebu, I decided to make this jump for the future of my kids. As you can see, I have twin boys. I took this
cute.
jump about 5 years ago, and I went to World Connect. I went to their seminar, and then I learned how easy it is to get on board. So pinrocess namin ni Mrs. ang papeles namin, and then a few months later, we were here. I was here on a student visa. My wife came with me, and because partner ko siya, she got a work visa right away. So she was working full-time while I was studying and working part-time. So after my studies for a year, I went to find work, and then lucky enough, I was able to get work as a trainee operations manager for Natava Foods, and then they sponsored my work visa. So I got into a work visa. Although if you take up a course here, you are being offered 1 year. At that time I was studying here, you are offered 1 year open working visa. If you can find an employer who can give you a work visa, you can jump straight ahead to get a sponsored working visa. So that's what I did. So after that, I bought my family here, and then I worked. And after a year, we applied for residency. So then, lucky enough, we were granted residency. And it only took us 3 years to settle down here with my whole family. See, that's one of the stunning views from somewhere here in New Zealand. That was when the time that was only me and my wife here. Wala pa yung mga kids. So we were able to go around and visit the very interesting and very beautiful places in New Zealand. Then that's my work visa. I jumped straight to getting a work visa sponsored by the company that I work for. So at least it's easy. As long as you're determined, you have no qualms about working in a field that you are not familiar with. Of course, most of the work dito, medyo kailangan mo physical. Most of the companies that I've worked with here is not only yung boss is a boss, everybody works. So as long as you have no qualms about being in your safety zone, then I don't see why you will not succeed here in New Zealand. So that is my work visa. That's one of the playgrounds. I think that's the one near our house now. There are playgrounds here left and right. So because New Zealand is a very family-oriented country, they have playgrounds everywhere that anybody can just go there and enjoy. That's when the kids were when they first came here. And then 3 years later, voila, we were already granted a residency. I came here October 2015, and October 2018, we were already residents. And then those are more pictures of parks near our place. I think that one of the girl in the picture with me is my sister, who came to visit as well. So there are many parks here around, and if you are very family oriented, New Zealand it's safe, it's less pollution, minimal crime, and of course it's very family oriented. As you can see, there are parks everywhere that you can just enjoy and have a stroll around. Danette, are you there?
Wow, Reggie, that was really, just looking at your family photos is so heartwarming, right? And I'm sure a lot of our viewers right now are wondering, what it's like to be moving to New Zealand. So I guess my question to you is, you mentioned that you're originally from Cebu. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. And how did you deal with homesickness? Did you even go through homesickness when I know you were with your family, but you also had family that you left here, probably your parents, your siblings.
Yes.
Did you go through homesickness?
Of course. The first year that I was here, I was only here with my wife, back home with my folks for about a year and a half. To combat homesickness, it's FaceTime every night. So I spent FaceTime with my kids. We do online games with my parents, and my sister's also abroad. She is actually in New York. So there are times that just to combat homesickness.
Yeah. So definitely video calls would help a lot. Yeah.
Yes.
And when you moved there, was it just you, or was your wife with you right away when you moved there?
Yes.
And she was able to work full time, right?
I came here October. My wife came about 3 weeks after.
Okay.
Because I first came here myself to set up to get a room to rent and buy some basic stuff. And then 3 weeks later, my wife was here with me. It was just the two of us. because it's going to be easier if you are with your partner, because your
Definitely.
partner can work full time. So at least with both of you working, one is full time, one is part time, it's
Mhm.
easier to start your life again.
Okay. And this is, again, Reggie, you have the freedom to answer this or not, but a lot of Filipino couples that I've actually met overseas would always tell me that their relationship actually got stronger when they moved to a new country. Is this true for you or for a lot of other Filipino couples?
Yes, it is true,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
when you move to another country, you will go through everything over again. Because even in the Philippines, when you guys
Mhm.
get married, there's always the possibility that you will not really start from scratch,
Yeah.
because you already have your own house, you've settled, you're very stable. But if
Mhm.
you guys move to a new country, both of you will start
Mhm.
all over again, starting from zero,
Absolutely.
buying your first car, buying your first set of plates, buying your
Yeah.
first spoon and fork, everything. So it
Yeah.
makes the house that you live in will actually be a house that both of you agreed on. From everything inside the
Mhm.
house to where it is located to the car that you use, the car that you buy,
Yeah.
it actually makes your
Yeah.
relationship a whole lot stronger.
Wow. See, so for all our viewers, to all our viewers who are watching and listening to us, you heard it from Reggie that, we're not saying that if we're here in the Philippines that our relationships are not going to be well, but what he's saying is that when you move to a different country, say New Zealand, for example, I mean, it is such a stress-free country. I mean, because it's not overly populated, you've got nice parks, you've got the nature, I mean, the mountains, they're absolutely stunning. And this can actually help you relieve your marital stress, somehow, right? And as Reggie said,
Yes,
you can start, on an equal footing. If you guys were like, probably one was a little bit more controlling and dominant here, well, when you move to New Zealand, you have no choice but to work as a team, right?
yes, that is true to net.
Okay. And then, of course, raising kids is very good because there are very good schools in New Zealand as well. Right. Okay. So if you have any questions, ladies and gentlemen, from our participants in the room, we have about a lot of participants. Feel free to type in your questions in the chat box. And for those of you who are watching our Facebook Live, please feel free to ask us questions. Um, okay, Reggie, um, I'm just curious because now that you have a New Zealand qualification, how has this equipped you in advancing in your career? I mean, of course, I know that you have already graduated from a reputable university here, but having an international qualification, I reckon, must have put you in a much better position to advance in your career.
It helped me a lot, because you must not be afraid to get out of your comfort zone, because back in the Philippines, I worked in sales. I was sales in my whole career. But when I transferred here to New Zealand, I have to pick a different field, because we have to say that if you are in sales, your strength mainly relies on knowing the environment and knowing a lot of uh, the playing field. But when you go to a different country, the playing field is taken away from you, and all you're left on is the knowledge that you have. So for me, I took a different career path. I went to operations when I got here, because, well, basically it's not that different in sales from the Philippines and doing operations here. That's why when I took my education there, my postgraduate diploma, I focused on business administration, and the subjects that I chose were in that respect, moving me forward in the how to handle operations here in New Zealand. Because although basically the general functions of operations will always be the same, each and every country will always have their own special way and own special method of doing things.
Yeah.
That's why when I picked my courses, when I picked my subjects, when I was studying here, I made sure that I picked the ones that I know would help me. And thankfully enough, when I found work here, most of the stuff that I've learned in my postgraduate diploma is something I can easily apply.
Right.
Although I was not able to get a focus in logistics and operations, because I have to finish my master's degree for that. I took the subjects that I can focus on logistics and operations here.
Yeah.
So when I got to work, when I found my work here, I shifted to a new career. I was able to use most of the things I've learned in my postgraduate diploma in the work that I'm doing now.
That's really excellent because And I don't know if it's true, because even if you actually took your master's here in the Philippines and you try to look for a job somewhere else, let's say New Zealand, it's really not that easy because it's not an international qualification. So I think getting educated in New Zealand, and then looking for a job would be an easy route, right? To having a
Yes.
much better career, because then you already have the international qualification.
It's gonna be easier because the way they teach the postgraduate diploma here, it was mainly focused on an international setting.
Mhm.
Because mainly when I went to school here, a lot of the students are from different countries.
Yeah.
It was a United Nations classroom. Everybody, almost a lot of my classmates mainly are not. A
Mhm.
portion were Filipinos, Indians, Chinese,
Mhm.
Bangladeshi, a few were Kiwis, Chinese. So it was really a mixture. So when they were
Mhm.
teaching you the courses here, it was mainly focused on the international standards.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot when I was looking for work, because when they saw that I had a
Mhm.
diploma here, they knew
Yeah.
I was taught in the New Zealand way.
Yeah.
So they will not have a
Exactly.
hard time adjusting from what I've learned before or from my previous work or from my previous studies to how they do things
Mhm.
here in New Zealand, because they knew I was taught in the New Zealand way or the international way as well.
Well, that just makes sense, doesn't it? Because if you're
Yes, it does.
a company based in New Zealand, you would want to hire people who actually were educated in this country, right? Because
Mhm.
then you don't have to worry about having to orient them on how things are being done. Okay.
Yes.
Um, all right. So do we have any questions from our Facebook Live, guys? Please feel free to send us your questions. We have Reggie here. I mean, he's the best, he's a living testimony of a successful Filipino who actually made that big step. He was already living a successful life in the Philippines. But again, if you are in that situation where you're looking for advancement, I don't know, maybe some of you have been laid off from your work, maybe you've closed down your businesses. Guys, I really recommend taking an education, a qualification in New Zealand is a very, very practical route that you could take. And you've heard it from Reggie right now. So there's a question here. Bakit hindi sinunod ni Reggie kids niya? Why didn't you bring your kids with you?
Well, I did not bring my kids right away when my wife and I came here.
Or right
It's
away?
mainly
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mainly because I want to be sure first that we can get a residency
Okay.
before I bring my kids over, because it's gonna be hard. I'm imagining it's gonna be hard if I uproot my kids from the Philippines, from their environment, their friends, and bring them over here. And then what if by sudden
Mm,
stroke of luck your residency doesn't get approved? Then you all have
mhm.
to move back home. So I don't
Okay.
want to have my kids pass through that. Bring them or uproot them from the Philippines, from Cebu,
Mhm.
bring them here, and
Mhm.
then we'll never know what happens, and then we might have to
Mhm.
move back. So once I'm sure that we
Mhm.
are guaranteed to have a residency here, our residency
Mhm.
gets approved, then I brought them over right away.
Okay. So I mean, again, to each family, you have your own preference, right? And as what Reggie said, just really wanted to make sure that his kids will not be confused and you know, be uprooted from their friends or family here, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work. Okay. So yeah, Reggie, is there any special message that you'd like to share with our fellow Filipinos here in the Philippines who might want to study in New Zealand? I mean, because a lot of them are actually still, again, based on my experience, a lot of them just want to find work immediately. But as you said, guys, it is not that easy to get a job with a Philippine qualification. If you're looking to move to New Zealand, you need to have a New Zealand qualification. And you can only do that if we work together with a reliable consultant, an education agency who can help you determine, your life goals and then take the necessary steps to enroll in a course of your preference. So, would you say that it's an easy option? Is it an easy option? Like, I mean, if you want to start a life in New Zealand, education is a good option.
Yes.
Mhm.
Education is a very, very good option because it helps you find more stable work. It
Mhm.
helps you
Yeah.
redefine your career, redefine yourself.
Mhm.
Just make sure that when you go into and to New Zealand to get your education, you take up an education wherein you feel comfortable with once you transform yourself into something new.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you are here, guys, as long as you are not picky with the jobs, because every work here in New Zealand, especially the big work, the real work, they would
Mm-hmm.
always look for New Zealand experience. Meaning, have you worked here in New
Mm-hmm.
Zealand before as a
Right.
part-time employee or anything? As long as you are not picky, then there's a lot of work. When my wife
Yeah.
came over, she arrived on a Wednesday. By Saturday, she already had work. And all we
Oh,
had to do is we
wow.
just went to the mall. We just printed out her CVs. We went to the mall. We passed her CVs to the stores, to the shops. By
My
Saturday, she had
goodness.
work already. So by Monday, that following Monday, not even a week in New Zealand, she already had full-time work.
Mm-hmm.
Getting work here is very easy as long as you are not picky.
Yeah.
And a lot of employers here love Filipino employees.
Hmm.
They love Filipino ingenuity. They love how Filipinos work. So I can easily suggest that it's not hard at all to look for jobs as long as you're not picky. And when with a New Zealand qualification,
Mm-hmm.
it makes you at par with a lot of people here, a lot of
Yeah.
the locals. It puts you
Yeah.
at par with them, and then it's easier to look for a much better job than when you started, and a
Mm-hmm.
job that can actually sponsor you and support you with the life that you want.
Right. No, excellently said. I mean, that's amazing when you said that after 3 days your wife had a job. I mean, because
Yes, she did.
this is usually what people are anxious about. Like, oh no, my husband or my wife might be bored, while I'm studying. But see, guys, you've heard it. It's not that hard. But Reggie, is age a factor when it comes to, like for Filipinos, if let's say me, I'm already in my 20s. No, I'm just kidding. How come you guys are not taking me seriously? No, I'm kidding. No, but is there an age? I mean, is it a factor? Like,
No,
let's say somebody is in his 40s or 50s. I don't know. What would you advise?
guys, I was already in my 40s when I decided to uproot my family to come over.
Wow.
Well, it was mainly for my kids when I saw the state of, unfortunately, things happening in the Philippines. I decided to look for a better environment to raise my kids. At
Hmm.
that time, I was already in my 40s, and yet I
Wow.
decided to do it. I came here, I studied. Then um, here in New Zealand, if you look for work, you don't put in your birth date in your CV.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
don't even put in your picture in your CV. That is to avoid, to minimize any biases on the employer's part,
Hmm.
because in their point of view, regardless of how old you are, it will all depend on the interview you get.
Yeah.
So it's up to you how to sell yourself. They don't put age, they don't put pictures in the CVs here. I don't see age being a restriction in getting work here or succeeding here.
Hmm.
Actually, age can actually help you because you are more mature in how you face the situation.
Yeah.
You are more mature in handling things. You have more experiences to get you by. Is compared to, let's say, a fresh graduate.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I've met some fresh graduates when I was studying here who automatically took up a postgraduate diploma. Um, it was much harder for them to accept what was happening
Hmm.
because here you really have to start from scratch.
True.
The part-time jobs that you will get as a student is actually a lot of it is manual labor, manual
Hmm.
work. My first job here, I was working in a manufacturing company in a
Hmm.
warehouse.
Hmm.
So as long as you have no qualms, age is not a matter. It actually
Good.
is a big edge for you because it gives you the maturity to handle things better.
That's really refreshing to know, because a lot again of the qualms that Filipinos have is that I might be too old to even start a new life in New Zealand by through education. But is it not difficult? Let's say, as you mentioned, you were already in your 40s. Is it not difficult to move to New Zealand at that age? I mean, I'm not saying
Actually,
that it's old, but
yeah,
but we are
it
more
also helped me
mature,
in the
right?
education part because
Mhm.
a postgraduate diploma mainly deals with your experiences in life.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that much experience in your work life, how can you how can you study effectively? The postgraduate
Yeah.
diploma that I took mainly put in perspective everything, a lot of things that you've already learned and
Mm-hmm.
experienced in your life, in your career. It puts this into
Mm-hmm.
perspective of
Mm-hmm.
how to look at it from in an international point of view.
Yeah.
So it actually helped me, my age and my experience actually helped me in my studies. It was so easy.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And one thing I noticed about Kiwis, Reggie, they're very friendly people. They're very welcoming. When I was there, when I got there, everybody was just so friendly. And I'm thinking, is this like a dream? And then they said, oh, we're happy when Filipinos are around. They're just really happy to have us around. So, in your experience, how do Kiwis actually treat Filipinos in New Zealand?
They actually treat them well, amazingly. You'd be
Mm-hmm.
amazed at how
That's
many
great.
Kiwis you encounter in a day
Yeah.
that will greet you kumusta. They
Oh
are
my
proud to know
God.
that they know how to speak. Well, most of them only speak one word in Filipino, that is the kumusta.
Kumusta?
But they find it so nice that they meet Filipinos, because I haven't met a local yet who doesn't
Mm-hmm.
like working alongside Filipinos.
Yeah.
Uh, Kiwis treat Filipinos really, really well. They respect
Mm-hmm.
Filipinos. They respect the maturity that we give our work.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about Philippines. They actually love our food. They
Yeah.
actually love the way we prepare food and the kind of foods that we eat. Although they find it amazing,
Mm-hmm.
or well, amazing is the most positive comment, because a lot of them will find it unique that there are some stuff that we eat that they normally don't,
Yeah.
but they like the taste of our food. And I so far
Mm.
haven't heard anything negative from a
Amazing.
local to a Filipino.
That's really amazing. I mean, that's again, you wouldn't feel that you're being discriminated or
No,
being judged because again, they're one of the friendliest race of people, they're
yes,
really, really very friendly.
they
Okay,
are.
well, thank you so much for that, Reggie. Okay, guys, do you have any more questions? If you have any questions, just please type in the chat box of our Zoom uh, meeting right now. And then also we're live on the Consult Asia Global page, on the World Connect consultancy page. And we are also supposed to be live on my page, Tinette Cortez. So I hope we are live. So if you guys have any questions for Reggie, feel free to ask. So Reggie, is there any, special message that you'd like to, again, share and to inspire our Filipino, aspirants with?
Well, guys, if you are listening to this webcast now, that means you're very much interested in starting a new life, starting a new
Mhm.
career. I would strongly suggest to think it over really, really hard and think it over fast. New Zealand is a very good country to re-establish yourself, reinvent yourself, and start a new career. It's a great it's a great place to raise your kids. It's a great place to bring your family, and the education that they give you here is actually top notch. It's based on international standards. So don't think it's a stepping stone. Well, it is a stepping stone, but it's a stepping stone that is for your benefit as well. Not
Mhm.
only as a stepping stone that you will forget after your studies, because you
Mhm.
actually learn things in your studies here in New Zealand that you will actually use in your work, and that will be a big edge for you when you are looking for your work here that you can grow old with, and your
Mhm.
education here will help you do that.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Reggie. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, from Mr. Reggie Guse, who is a living testimony of a successful Filipino who made that big decision here in the Philippines to take an educational, qualification in New Zealand. So if you guys are in that same position right now, please try to gather more information for the rest of the webinar today. So Reggie, thank you so much for your
Thank you, Tinette.
time and for sharing with us. I really, really appreciate, as well as everyone else who's listening. We're very appreciative of your time and the valuable insights and stories that you've shared with us today. So thank you
Thank
very
you, everybody.
much.
Thank you, Tinette.
Okay, thank you, Reggie. So there you have it, guys. We've heard it from Mr. Reggie Guse, one of our successful Filipino students from World Connect. He actually applied through World Connect Consultancy. And at this point, I'm going to introduce our second guest. And our second guest is actually our representative from NMIT. one of our partner schools in New Zealand. And she's originally from the hometown, her hometown, Nelson, and she moved to Christchurch. She finished her Bachelor of Commerce major in Marketing and Management from the University of Canterbury, and she worked in the USA and Australia as well. So she's quite a global lady, right? And currently, she's now working as the regional manager for the Philippines since last year, under the International Development Team of NMIT. So without further ado, let me introduce Miss Sarah Foot. Sarah, hello there.
Hi, everyone.
Kia ora.
Lovely introduction. Kia ora. Nice to meet you.
How is everything down there?
Good.
I bet it's
lovely.
cold. It's lovely.
It
Yeah.
is, and I'm sitting here in my home office looking out the window, and it actually has just started to rain. So we are middle of winter, so it's
Mhm.
not completely unusual to have rain at this time of the year, but
Yeah.
not too cold. Where I am in Nelson,
Mhm.
it's a really nice climate. We're actually
Mhm.
probably one of the nicest places in New Zealand as far as weather goes. We have the most sunshine hours.
Mhm.
So yeah, quite lucky here, quite mild winters.
You said something like it's one of the best places in New Zealand. I beg to disagree because every place in New Zealand every place is just beautiful. So, but yes, I could imagine that there are certain areas that are just very, very lovely. Okay, so Sarah, please do us the honor of sharing with the viewers what NMIT is all about, and then maybe, of course, later on we can have some questions from the audience. All right.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you so much for having me along today. It's awesome to see so many people on this conference call. And then I know there's also a few on the Facebook Live. So wherever you are in the world, thank you for coming along and listening to us all today. And Reggie, I absolutely loved hearing about your journey here in New Zealand. And it's so heartwarming to hear what a good experience you've had. For me, I am the regional manager currently at NMIT. So just before this role, I was working in the business department at our school. I absolutely loved working with all the international students. So when this opportunity came up, I decided I had to jump for it, and was lucky enough to actually get put into the position. So here I am today talking to you all. So I suppose, a bit of a background on me. I studied at the University of Canterbury. Originally grew up in Nelson though, so this is my hometown where the institute is. New Zealanders as a whole, I think we are very global people. So as Reggie said, we are very warm, welcoming people. We love meeting people from different nationalities, learning about different cultures, trying different foods. So for me as a high school and university graduate, I really wanted to get out there and see what the rest of the world had to offer. My dream was always to live in the United States and work there. I actually saw myself potentially living there for quite a long time, but ended up only being there for about 6 months and decided to move to Australia following that, where I then thought I was going to stay put. But I soon learnt after the travels I'd done and working in the US and working in Australia, and also a small stint for a study abroad experience in China, I actually realized that there was nowhere in the world quite like New Zealand. It's got everything. It's the people are lovely. You walk down the street, people smile at you. Strangers will ask how your day is going. It's just a really special place. And so I decided that I was going to come home. And here I am today. So I've made it here, and I'm really happy back in my home country. So I hope that any of you here today who join and come to New Zealand love it as much as I do, and Reggie and Ia, I'm sure, as well. So I suppose if we go to the next slide, as we go through this presentation, not quite sure what it is at the moment. Oh, here we go. So why New Zealand? Just to kind of give you a quick overview, other than kind of all the things I've said, we are ranked first and number one in the world really for preparing students for the future. So as Reggie said, if you come to New Zealand, the qualifications you get are really making sure that you're work ready. So it doesn't matter where you study in New Zealand, you will come out with an internationally recognized qualification. Next slide. So NMIT is located at the top of the South Island, so in Nelson. So we are a really short 35-minute flight to the capital city, Wellington. And if we were to go to Auckland, you'd be looking at about an hour and a half via the plane. So it's a nice central location. It isn't an international airport. If you go to the next slide, I believe I do have a picture there of the airport. So this is just some snapshots of the region. So the airport picture there, that was just built last year. So previous to that, we had a much smaller airport. And it was just always very, very busy. Lots of people trying to go to different places in New Zealand. So we got this brand new state-of-the-art airport. It's now a treat when you get to go catch a plane somewhere, because it's a beautiful place to go. You'll also see that photo there is of our local port. So that is a really big business here in Nelson. It's one of our main drivers of our economy. We've got the largest deep sea fishing port in Australasia, so provides lots of work opportunities for our students too. Next slide. So here is just a aerial shot of Nelson. So Nelson is a small regional city. So if you're coming from somewhere like Manila or Cebu, it is a lot smaller. Our population is about 100,000 people, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it. It's still got everything you need. You've got your shops, so you can go buy new clothes. You've got restaurants, so you can go out and eat. But it's got that New Zealand lifestyle feel. So for me, coming back to New Zealand was really about having a good work-life balance. And I definitely get that here in Nelson. We don't sit in traffic to get to and from work or study. For me, it takes me about 10 minutes to get to work. So it's always really easy to get around. Beautiful scenery. I think the next slide has got some pictures of our region. This beach here is about an hour away from campus. It's called Kaiteriteri Beach. Absolutely stunning. And this, I would say, wasn't even taken at summer, this picture. So it's a really cool place to go. And it's the entrance to Abel Tasman National Park, which is where this boat takes you to. So the Vista boat, there's various companies that can take you down the Abel Tasman, where you get to go, you can go watch sea life or native birds, you can do walks, you can go swimming, you can do kayaking, a huge amount of things. And this is just on our doorstep, basically. So a really beautiful place to go. I know in the Philippines you do have amazing beaches, but this is our New Zealand equivalent. Next slide. So the campus at NMIT. So NMIT is a government-owned institute in New Zealand. So the full name is Nelson Marlborough Institute of Technology. We're a Category 1 institute, and definitely the qualifications you get from us will be internationally recognised, much like all the qualifications you will come out with from study in New Zealand. NMIT is really well established. We've been around teaching students like yourselves for 100 years or more than. First established in 1905. So for us, we're constantly evolving. Our qualifications are really connected with industry. So we're making sure that when students graduate, their qualifications are actually what employers are looking for. These shots here are of our classroom for some of our postgraduate students. You will see there is actually a Filipino student called Samantha sitting in this classroom. She was a gorgeous student who I did a student profile on not too long ago. She has since graduated and I believe is actually working for King Salmon here in Nelson, so doing well. Our tutors are also really supportive. This class here is a perfect example of about the size that you will experience at NMIT. So not many students. You get a really close relationship with your professors. And I think that's a really important thing about education in New Zealand, is that it's not just about sitting in a massive lecture theatre and being talked at and copying down what's on a board. It's about growing a relationship with the professor and really learning and discussing things. These are just some of our more facilities. So that's our nursing suite. So we do offer a Bachelor of Nursing for any K to 12 graduates in the room today, but also a CAP program, so Certificate in Nursing for fully qualified nurses from the Philippines who want to come to New Zealand. Next slide. So here are just some more pictures of the campus. Another one of our buildings. This is for our design kind of creative studio students. So we've got things like animation, as well as information technology, arts and media. So quite a creative area too. Oh, this photo here is actually just one I wanted to show of something that goes on in the Nelson region every year. It's our Buskers Festival. This is probably one of my highlights of the year. It's an art festival, and throughout the week, different things happen each day. And the Buskers are one that's a free event, so it's on our main street. You just get to go along and watch. Again, really good for families, a fun thing to come do. So yeah, I hope that's kind of covered off a bit about why you might want to study at NMIT. Obviously, we're in a really beautiful part of the country. We're a Category 1 government-owned institute, and we offer a huge range of qualifications. So I think if we go to the next slide, this one is just some student support. So you will get the opportunity to get a free airport pickup when you do arrive at NMIT. We also have a really thorough orientation for all our international learners, and we'll introduce you to community groups. So here in Nelson, there's actually a really strong Filipino community group, which I am really pleased about. And I know the president of this community group, and he's always so happy to meet our NMIT students. So we can definitely make that connection. We also have a student association who do a huge amount of events for our students, and a special international events calendar where they'll take you around to local beaches, do adventurous things with you, perhaps go kayaking or whitewater rafting, things that you may not have done back home. Next slide. So yeah, we've got over 100 programs on offer. So whether you're sitting here and you've got a bachelor's degree and you're looking for post-study graduate diplomas or postgraduate diplomas, we probably will have something for you. Some of our strengths are in things like business, nursing, and we do also have the New Zealand Diploma in Civil Engineering, which is a really strong one as well. Also, IT is another quite popular one for NMIT. So our capstone is a Master of Applied Management program. That's only 15 months in length, and it is open to all bachelor degree holders. So if you're sitting there with a 4-year bachelor's degree, you will have entry onto that as long as you can also provide the IELTS or equivalent English language test. So yeah, I guess that was just a quick summary, but if you've got any questions for me, Tanette, or anyone in the crowd?
Yes, thank you very much for that, Sarah. It's very informative. And yes, absolutely. You have a beautiful campus. I love the culture that you have at the school, which is very friendly, especially when it comes to international students. You have this way of making everybody feel comfortable. And as you said, working with Filipinos has been one of the best experiences you've had. Sarah, I'm just curious, is it possible for a student to take a postgraduate or a master's course that's different from their bachelor's degree, say here in the Philippines?
Yes, definitely. So our postgraduate diploma in applied management and our Master of Applied Management are actually open to bachelor degree holders from any discipline. So that means whether they're coming from business or healthcare healthcare or education or something else, they can actually join that program. And
Okay.
the great thing about it is that there are several majors students can choose from, and things like
Mhm.
international business, logistics.
Mhm.
There's a healthcare management major, data
Yeah.
analytics. So there's quite a few options there for students as well.
Right, that's fantastic. We have a question here from a nurse. Actually, she's curious about the different courses that you have when it comes to nursing. Would you like to expound on this a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So here at NMIT, we really do, we've got two programs. So we've got the Bachelor of Nursing program. So that's a 3-year degree. And on graduation from that, our students will be registered. They can apply for their registration
Mhm.
here in New Zealand. If you are a registered nurse in the Philippines, you can apply for our Certificate in Nursing program, which is just a 12-week program.
Oh,
and
wow.
that you would become a registered nurse. There are quite a few entry criterias that you do have to meet for that program, as in having things like relevant work, recent work experience within 6 months,
Mhm.
and various other kind of health tests and things that you have to go through. But that's the kind of second pathway other than the
Mhm.
bachelor.
Yeah, fantastic. Actually, one of the most attractive things that you've mentioned is that the support is very strong, you know, like, so if you have a Filipino student coming in, that he or she won't feel uncomfortable or left out because you personally are very familiar, you know, with our culture already. So
Yeah.
that's really great news there.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for that, Sarah. Now, I would like to invite our guests and our viewers on Facebook. If you have any questions for Sarah from NMIT, please just type in those questions on the chat box below so that Sarah can answer those questions. All right. So, okay. So Sarah, just as a quick one, is there any maybe like a message that you'd like to share with our Filipino audience? You know, just as a last reminder or, you know, message for everyone.
My big message to you would be that coming to New Zealand and gaining an internationally recognized qualification is never going to be a bad decision.
Mhm.
So if it seems daunting, it is a big decision, but I do not think you will regret it. It will help you in your future career. Yes, there will be ups and downs, as there is with all things,
Yeah.
but in the long run, it will be a really good decision.
Right.
And you'll be
Thank
welcome.
you.
We'll love New Zealand.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. At this point, we don't have any questions. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are interested to know more about NMIT, please do contact our education agency partner, World Connect Consultancy, and we will hear from our president later on so that she can share with you all the other details that you need to take, okay? So Sarah, thank you so much again for joining us, and it was an absolute pleasure to have you. And I hope that this is not the last time that we will invite you to one of our webinars. Right. Thank you very much, Sarah. All right. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You've heard from Miss Sarah Foote the things that you needed to know about NMIT. And definitely it is worth a try, worth checking out. And if you need to know more information, just please do visit the person who, or contact the person who invited you to this webinar. Okay, so now I'm going to be introducing our third guest for today. And she was actually my well, we went to the same university together, but I'm much older. Well, not really much older, a couple of years older. So she's currently the International Marketing Manager at Manukau Institute of Technology in New Zealand, but she finished Communication Arts at the Ateneo de Manila University in the Philippines. And she started with her career here in the Philippines as corporate communications manager. She was also head of client services and worked as CEO of some prestigious companies here in the Philippines. But just like everyone else who have moved to New Zealand, she thought that studying in New Zealand would definitely advance her career further. So she took that big step took her further education in New Zealand, and now she's already landed on a very successful career. She started a very successful career in the education sector, and that's why we've invited her to join us today to share with her story, and of course, at the same time, the features on the offerings of her school, of the school that she's working for. So, would like to introduce now Miss Iya Diza. Hello, Iya. Good morning. Good morning from the Philippines and good afternoon in New Zealand. Okay, can we please unmute Iya? Iya, we can't hear you.
Good morning, Philippines.
Hello, how are you today?
Good. It's a little bit cold, but all good.
I know. All right, so we're all excited. Our audience is very excited to hear about your story and the course offerings of Manukau as well. So please do the honor, Iya.
So there's a short photo loop here, a video loop here, that starts off my journey in New Zealand, where I studied graduate diploma in applied business studies in 2010. Okay, so coming up, so I studied a one-year program in Fitarea, and then I went on to get my work visa and then work for Fitarea, and then was able to see the rugby finals in 2011. After that, I got my resident visa. I joined my friends to watch a couple of rugby games. And then I went on to get a new job at North Tech. And then finally got my permanent resident visa and got my New Zealand driver's license. After which I joined Manukau Institute of Technology. A year after that, I got my citizenship, and now I'm a Kiwi citizen now. So that's my journey, and I've always been with the international education industry since coming here to New Zealand. So yeah, so moving on, I'd like to talk to you about MIT, Manukau Institute of Technology. So I do international marketing for Manukau Institute of Technology. What I do is I talk to students, prospective students like you, and walk you through the opportunities of study here at Manukau Institute of Technology. Right, so whether you like helping people or being artistic, working with your hands, working with your mind, working to serve people, or working with numbers, whatever it is that you like, we've got something for you. So can I just ask for the next slide, please? Yeah, so the next one shows you the next slide will show you the different areas of study that you can explore with us at MIT. So the courses on offer on the next slide include business, logistics, we've got maritime, we've got digital technologies, engineering, nursing, and education and sports. We've also got culinary, baking, and hospitality, and consumer services like consumer trade services like floristry and hairdressing. We also offer languages at MIT. Now we've got four main campuses. The first one, our MIT Manukau campus, where we deliver our our business, our IT and nursing courses out of this campus. Tech Park is actually opening, not mid-2020, we're actually launching this new building in September 2020. This will house our professional engineering and our trades courses. So it's purpose-built just for engineering and trades courses. We've also got our Otara campus, where we have our hospitality, culinary, languages, we've got education. At the Otara campus, we also have a restaurant, which is used by our hospitality and cookery students. For training purposes, we've got a deli, which is also used pretty much for the same thing. We've got a bakery that serves you freshly made pastries, bread, pies, and all of that made by our students. There's also an early childhood education center at our Otara campus, which some of our early childhood education students practice their learnings and really do hands-on training around early childhood education. The last campus is our New Zealand Maritime School, which offers marine engineering and nautical sciences. We also have logistics course that are tied into our maritime school. So next, I just want to talk to you guys. Why would you choose MIT? For one, you actually get training that employers want with hands-on skills. So you learn using your hands. You actually learn a qualification that leads to real outcomes, okay, real jobs. You are exposed while learning to real world situations. You work closely with the industry where you are actually trying to get a qualification and then future work. Right? All our qualifications are industry tested, which means we consult the industry about qualifications, what we're trying to teach our students, and we deliver knowledge based on that particular feedback and consultation. And we also put a great emphasis on providing you with skills that your future employers are looking for. So whether it's a soft skill or something highly technical, we make sure that all our qualifications incorporate all of these things so that when you finish your qualification with us, you're ready to hit the ground running, ready for a job. So next slide, please. And the one after that. So the next slide will tell you that with the training or the education that you get from MIT, you can future-proof your career with high job security. Okay. As I said, we work closely with industry, so we ensure that what you learn is what employers are actually looking for in their prospective employees. Now, the last slide is actually pretty important. There was a study that was published by the New Zealand government where it shows that MIT degree graduates earn more than their cohorts. Okay, so this government data shows that our graduates have one of the highest employment rates, are among the highest median earnings in all of New Zealand. So you not only get a internationally recognized qualification, you actually get qualification that you can use to get you that job that you want and to actually land a job that pays well. Okay, so you can see there, students who've completed our Bachelor of Digital Technologies have the potential of earning anywhere between 72,000 to 100,000 New Zealand dollars per year. And our students who've completed Bachelor of Nursing have the potential of earning anywhere between 54,000 and 130,000 New Zealand dollars per year. Yeah. Just to recap, MIT qualifications, we're known for engineering, professional engineering courses. We've got civil, mechanical, and electrical. There are opportunities for cross-credit into our bachelor's degree for engineering technology, which is not only industry recognized, internationally recognized, it is also recognized under the Sydney Accord. For those of you who are engineers, you might be familiar with the international engineering agreements. Okay. Now, we're also well known for training, for the quality training we provide for Bachelor of Nursing students. We also provide the competency assessment program for internationally qualified nurses. You would need to first go through New Zealand Nursing Council to see whether or not you can qualify for registering as a nurse here in New Zealand. From there, they will advise you whether or not you should do a competency assessment program, at which point you just come to us and inquire for a slot, and we'll try and give you a place for our CAP program. The other thing that we're really known for is our Bachelor of Digital Technologies, which has focus in networking, data analytics, and software and web development. We've just recently introduced our postgraduate diploma and masters of applied technologies with focus on either cybersecurity or data analytics. For details on that, more than happy to take the discussion offline, or you can ask Kathy and World Connect about all your other options. So that's it. That's it for me from MIT. I wish you good luck in your journey.
Right. Thank you very much for that, Iya. Yes, I think Iya was able to share with us a lot of information. But Iya, we have one question here. Somebody was asking more about the programs that are being offered for civil engineering. Would you like to discuss this a little bit more?
Okay, so for civil engineers out there, you can look at possible cross credits into our bachelor's degree, because as far as I know, most of our engineering degrees in the Philippines have not been accredited under any of the accords. So by doing a cross credit into the bachelor's degree, Bachelor of Engineering Technology, you can possibly shorten the study from 3 years down to 1.5 or 2 years. But after you complete the bachelor's degree, you actually have a qualification that's portable, which means it's recognized in the countries that have signed the accord with us. And you can take that qualification and you don't have to do any upskilling or any further studies so that you can work as an engineer in the countries that have signed the accord. That's one possibility. The other possibility is you can do a graduate diploma level 7, which is a 1-year course. The specializations for civil engineer would be structural and water and wastewater. Yep, those are your options for all the civil engineers out there. Just a quick comment around the Bachelor of Engineering Technology and even our Bachelor of Digital Technologies. They're both listed as qualifications that are recognized under the long-term skills shortage list. And you can ask Kathy and our World Connect partners around what that means, what being included in the long-term skill shortage list means for you.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Iya. There's another question here. If I study graduate diploma in business operations management, can I bring my spouse and kids? That's the question here.
Technically, if you go to the immigration website, you
Mhm.
it's not one of those qualifications that will allow you to do that. I just have to caution students who are here in this forum who are wanting to seek immigration advice. The school representatives are actually not authorized to provide immigration advice. But
Okay.
there's more information to be gathered in the immigration website. And Kathy and the team at World Connect are actually well versed and can guide you accordingly. In general, not graduate diploma, anything in business that's below level 8, which is the master's, will not allow you to bring your family with you at that point.
So it has to be a postgraduate diploma. Is that
It has
correct?
to be at a master's level
A master's
for business.
level. Okay. All right. Okay. And there's another question. How about architecture and interior design program for MIT?
Okay. We actually don't have any options for architecture interior design if that's what you want to pursue, if you want to take your further studies in that particular area. However, if you're wanting to diversify, if you're wanting to explore other areas, related areas, say you want to go into engineering, for example, that's a possibility that we can look into and see what pathways are available for you.
Right. Okay. So I guess we don't have any more questions for Iya. Guys, again, if you have any questions, please type them in. Type them on the chat box on Zoom and on Facebook, and we'll be happy to relay the questions to our school representatives. But for now, I think, Iya, we have been able to get a lot of information from you. So thank you very much. And
Pleasure.
all right. So at this point, okay, so I guess everybody's now curious, what's the next step? We already heard it from our school representatives, from another student who actually became an operations manager in his job at the moment. So it's about time to invite our president and CEO of World Connect Consultancy, which is our education agency partner. Consult Asia Global is very, very privileged to be partnered with such a reputable education agency here in the Philippines. So I'd like to call in the president, Ms. Kathy Altarejos. Kathy.
Hi.
Hello, Kathy.
Hi, Jeanette.
Hi. Good morning. How are you?
Hi, good morning. I'm good. I'm good.
Right.
I'm just very happy that a lot of participants joined in the Zoom.
Yeah. Yes, we do have a lot of participants, and we also have a lot of viewers from the World Connect Facebook page and the Consult Asia Global Facebook page. So we are definitely inspiring a lot of Filipinos to take their higher studies or further studies in New Zealand. So Kathy, I think it's really time for you to share with everybody how they can take that first step if they really want to study in New Zealand.
Okay, actually, there are a lot of questions in the chat box about the services, what course are they eligible to take if they are graduates of bachelor's program in the Philippines. So later on at the last part, I'll be discussing the programs or the level of the courses and the requirements. Okay, the company is World Connect. We have actually branches in the Philippines, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. We are SEC registered, so later on you can contact the managers, you can visit the different offices. This is our SEC registration. We are already 13 years in the business. We are serving more than 4,000 Filipinos since 2007. So yan po yung numbers of clients na napaalis na ni World Connect. A while ago, somebody asked, do you have an office in Iloilo? Yes, we have 12 branches nationwide from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So as far as Baguio City, Davao, Legazpi is our main office. We have Cabanatuan, Manila, Bacolod, Iloilo, Cebu, Bohol, Cagayan de Oro. We have General Santos. Okay, so you can just visit our offices. Open na po yung offices namin ngayon, pero alam ko some are hesitant of visiting the office. You can just call the managers. They can assist you even if you won't visit the office, or you can send your CVs later on if you are really interested for us to check if you are qualified or not. So we do free assessment. So yan po yung 12 branches. We are a member of the Philippine New Zealand Business Council. Since we are sending clients in New Zealand, we are accredited of the Philippine New Zealand Business Council. I am a member of this PNBC in the Philippines. We are also an ENSRA recognized agent under Education New Zealand. If you would check the website of Education New Zealand, you would see that World Connect is one of the accredited recognized agent in the Philippines. We are maintaining our approval rating. We are also maintaining number of students that we have to send to New Zealand. So you have to renew this membership, this recognition every year. So far, until now, we are a recognized agency by Education New Zealand. May mga nagtatanong kanina, Kathy, sa chat box, who would help us when we are already in New Zealand. Before finishing the course, what are we going to do? We have a partner licensed immigration advisor. As what Ian mentioned a while ago, we are not allowed to discuss the points or the pathway after finishing the course. We have a partner licensed immigration advisor in New Zealand. His name is Conrad Martinez. Conrad is a very, he worked actually before with Immigration New Zealand. He is very knowledgeable. Lahat ng clients namin, before finishing the course, they could approach Conrad Martinez for a free immigration advice. So we have an agreement with Conrad. All World Connect students, before finishing the course, they will have a free consultation with Conrad Martinez. He is based in Auckland, New Zealand. Kaya hindi mahirapan yung mga kliyente natin bago matapos yung course. We are not a recruitment agency. We do not give job. We are helping you process the visa. Okay, so ano yung mga services ni World Connect? We provide free orientation. Like this one, it's Zoom. Wala na kasing hotel orientation. Before, we're gathering 300, 500 clients in Radisson Hotel, lahat ng hotels in Davao. We do orientations regularly, but since there is a pandemic, we cannot do that anymore. So we're doing a virtual orientation. So we provide free orientation, we provide free assessment. All you have to do is just send to us your detailed resume and we will check if you are qualified or not. So that's the first thing to do. Visit the branches or send your resume over, then we will check if you are qualified. What else? We arrange airport pickup. We help the clients in the visa application. There is no personal appearance. You will just authorize World Connect to process your application in your behalf. So wala na pong appearance yan sa embassy. Kami na magpa-process everything online. So kahit may pandemic, we can process the application online. You just have to send the documents through email. We also arrange accommodation and airport pickup. So yung mga walang kamag-anak, don't worry. We will assist you in finding an accommodation for you, either flatting, host accommodation. And we also give free tourist visa processing lifetime for the immediate family of our clients. Ito yung kagandahan ng service ni World Connect. If mapaalis namin yung kliyente at bibisitahin sila ng kanilang parents, siblings, we will process, we will guide the family for their tourist visa application free of charge. It's lifetime. And we will also give, again, a free consultation for our clients bago matapos yung program. They just have to approach the branch and we will set an appointment between Conrad and our client for a free immigration advice. Okay. Maybe you will be asking, what are the options after finishing the course? What will I do after finishing the course? May mga nagtanong sa chat box, Kathy, if I'm a college graduate, gaano katagal ako mag-aaral? So why are you going to study a program? So why study in New Zealand? Ano ba yung ROI? Number one, if you invest in your education, definitely meron siyang return on your investment. So number one, if you study a program, you will have a diploma, a qualification, which is from New Zealand, university from New Zealand, school, either from NMIT or MIT. So it would boost your qualification. You will get a diploma. So value for money, yung nilabas mong pera for your tuition, may kapalit na diploma. Actually, diploma pa lang, ROI ka na. It's recognized internationally. Kahit after you finish the course, you go to Europe, you go to the States, you will be proud that you have a qualification coming from New Zealand. So aside from the diploma, you are allowed to work. So that is the advantage, one of the advantages of studying in New Zealand. As mentioned kanina by Mr. Reggie, nung nag-aaral siya ng postgrad, he is working part-time because as a student, you are allowed to work 20 hours a week. If there is no class during break, summer, holiday, then you can work full-time. But if there is a class, you can only work 20 hours a week. So you can earn while you are doing the program, while you are studying. The income potential of working part-time, ang income sa New Zealand is per hour. So you earn minimum 17.50 or 17.70 per hour. That's the income potential while you are studying the course. And bakit maganda na nag-work ka while you are doing the course? You are getting a local experience. Instead of doing the theory, the classroom, you're studying in the campus, you are also working. So you are getting the practical knowledge. That is the good news, that you are allowed to work. You are getting the local experience. You are getting local work experience in New Zealand. Okay. Next is you can bring your spouse and children with you. Kanina may nagtanong sa chat box, if I will be studying postgraduate, can I bring my spouse? If you will study postgraduate, you cannot bring your spouse right away. 5 years ago, when Mr. Reggie applied to our branch in Cebu, he studied postgraduate qualification because before, for a 1-year program, you can bring your spouse and kids with you. But now, you cannot bring your spouse on a postgraduate. You have to study master. So nagbago na yung policy ni New Zealand. So you have to study 2 years master's program if you want to bring your spouse and kids with you. Karamihan na nag-a-attend sa ating live Facebook Zoom session this morning are all college graduates. So you have 2 options. Study postgraduate, you are studying and working at the same time for the first year. And after the 1 year, you will get the 3 years post-study work visa. So pagkatapos ng 1 year, may 3 years post-study work visa ka na. For master's, if you want to bring your spouse and kids right away, then study the master's program. For the master's, you'll get also 3 years post-study work. So after the 2 years na master's, you can work full-time for the next 3 years. Yung spouse na sinasama sa master's, day 1 pa lang, can work full-time na. So hindi mag-aaral yung spouse, it's only the student. How about the kids na sinasama? The kids will be treated as a domestic student. Gusto mong sabihin, pag sinama mo yung bata, basta below 18 years old, minor of age, yung kids na isasama sa New Zealand, they will get a domestic tuition fee. Gusto mong sabihin, almost free yung tuition. They would only pay donation at the end of the year, so hindi ka na talaga magbabayad ng full tuition fee for your kids. So isang savings din yon if you have kids with you. Ang kagandahan sa New Zealand, si New Zealand lang ang may pinaka-shorter course duration. If you will compare studying in Canada, studying in Australia, you have to study 2 years to get 2 years post-study work. Samantalang kay New Zealand, if you are a college graduate, you will only study 1 year. So 1 year schooling, you will get 3 years post-study work. Gusto ko sabihin, after the course, you can work full-time for the next 3 years. So you can avail the post-study work once you finish the 1 year postgraduate qualification. So very short. So karamihan college graduate, you will just study 1 year. So yung gusto magsama ng asawa, pwede mong isama pag naka 3 years post-study work ka na. It's also an option. Pero if you want to bring your family and kids with you right away, then get the master's. Master's is 2 years. So 2 taon yung master's. The good news about the master's program, yung spouse na sinasama, can already work full-time. And good news kay New Zealand, it's only New Zealand that will allow a student to pay the tuition fee after visa grant. Sa ibang bansa, sa ibang countries, if you will study a program, you have to pay the tuition fee right away. So gustong sabihin, may risk na tinatawag kasi we do not know if your visa will be granted or not. Ang kagandahan kay New Zealand, you will pay the tuition fee once the embassy already approve your visa in principle. Gustong sabihin, na-check niya na na-meet mo yung requirements for student visa. Once binigay ng embassy yung AIP, approval in principle, that's the time that you will pay the tuition fee. Gustong sabihin, you're not taking any risk. So you will only pay the tuition once the visa is already approved. Yung application mo is in-approve na ng immigration. So once you have the AIP, approval in principle, that's the time you will pay the tuition fee. So kayo na po yung magbabayad direct to the account of the school. World Connect will not accept payment in behalf of the school. You just have to do the telegraphic transfer direct from your bank to the account of the school. Yan ang kagandahan kay New Zealand. So you pay the tuition fee after approval in principle. And your visa is multiple entry. May mga kliyente na nagsasabi, Kathy, kaya ko ba? Like kanina, Tinette asked Reggie, yung kumusta yung coping, how do you cope with homesickness? Paano kung na-miss mo yung family mo? Good news, if you will apply for a student visa, your visa is multiple entry. Pag sinabing multiple entry, pwede kang lumabas-pasok ng New Zealand anytime you like. Sabi ko nga, if your class schedule is only 2 to 3 times a week, ang pag-aaral po sa New Zealand, hindi katulad sa Philippines that it's Monday until Friday. In New Zealand, you only study 2 to 3 times a week or maximum 4 times a week. Depende sa schedule ng school. But then, your visa is multiple entry. For example, pasok mo Monday to Thursday and na-miss mo yung family mo. Just buy your ticket, go back home during Saturdays and Sundays, then go back again to New Zealand. So it's a multiple entry. Anytime pwede kang bumalik. Ma-miss mo man ang family mo, it's a multiple entry visa. And the good news, we process lifetime, the tourist visa application, all the parents, siblings of our client. Okay, for World Connect, website, ayan po, naka-flash na sa screen. Visit our different branches. And you can also check our Facebook, Instagram. So we can assist you. You just have to send to us the requirements or the simple CV for us to check if you are qualified. Okay, so I'm done. We can entertain questions now. Tinette?
Right. Thank you very much, Kathy, for the information that you've shared with everybody. So guys, there you have it. It's not that hard. If you have a very reliable education agency here in the Philippines who can help you process everything from your visa to your application in the schools. And they also offer, very good customer service. If you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to Kathy. So if you have any questions, please type them in on the Facebook page. And here, if you're with us on Zoom, you can also type in your questions in the chat box. So yes, I guess with Kathy's explanation, she was pretty much able to cover everything from the SEC registration. If you're wondering, is this a reliable company? Well, they've been around for several years already, and they've already been able to send a lot of students, Filipino students, to New Zealand. So definitely, Kathy is also hands-on when it comes to clients. So although she has a fantastic team behind her, but she's also very hands-on. So if you have questions, definitely they will be answered. Okay, so we are not getting any questions from the Facebook chat box, but if you guys have any questions, we will welcome them before we officially close the session. Yeah, Kathy, is there anything else that you'd like to? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is a question, are they required to take the IELTS? Okay. In getting the visa, you have to meet 4 requirements. Number 1 is the qualification requirement. We need your diploma, your transcript of records, your employment certificate. Not only that, you have to submit the IELTS or Pearson test, TOEFL, to show to the school that you can speak basic English. Don't worry kasi sa mga Pinoy, they're scared to take the IELTS or the Pearson test. The required score is not that high. They just have to pass 6.5, no lower than 6 per masters, or 58 points out of 90 points per person academic. So again, pag Pinoy naman, elementary, high school, until college, we're speaking English. So definitely you will pass the English requirement. You just have to take the review first before taking the exam. And okay, aside from the English, aside from the qualification, they have to meet the medical. What's the medical requirement? We have to assure the embassy, the New Zealand government na hindi ka makakahawa. So you don't have communicable disease. They are very particular with tuberculosis, hepatitis. So make sure na wala kang sakit. If you have high glucose, high cholesterol, it doesn't matter. Ang gagawin mo lang, you would just have to take medication. Pero may mga clients kami na mataas yung sugar, mataas yung cholesterol. After a few weeks or few months, nag-normal naman yung kanilang medical. Basta wag lang communicable disease. Then number 3, the character. The embassy will ask for your NBI clearance. If you're working overseas, in the Middle East, we need your police certificate. So that's the additional requirement. So we have clients from the Middle East now, from Singapore. We can process the application even if you're outside the Philippines. So kahit nasa Middle East ka, nasa States, anywhere in the world, we can process everything because we do it online. And the last, the financial requirement. What's the financial requirement? Yung tinatawag na maintenance of funds. Of course, you have to pay the 1-year tuition fee after visa grant. So you need to pay the full 1 year. So hindi siya pwedeng installment. So for the fees, the managers will give them the tuition fee depende sa course na kukunin. So I could not say about the fees right now because that would entirely depend on the experience, on the qualification of the client. So for the fees, we can give that later on. We will give them a cost computation. So ano pa ba? The living cost, yung tinatawag na maintenance of funds. More or less, that's 480,000 pesos. That's the living cost. So sa Pinoy kasi ang alam nila dyan is show money, but we call it the maintenance. You have to prove to the immigration, to the school, that you can live comfortably in New Zealand. So dapat you are ready financially as well. So that's the living cost. Yung living cost, yung maintenance of funds, pwede man naman ipakita ng siblings, ng parents, anywhere, kahit nasa Canada, mga uncle and aunt. So yung funds requirement, pwedeng galing sa sponsor. So not necessarily na dapat galing sa kliyente. Okay, so yung requirements, we will just explain that further pag pumunta sila ng office or kinausap yung mga branch managers. But Ms. Tinette, right now, we are giving big discounts. Only for
I know.
today's
This is the most exciting part, ladies and gentlemen, because a lot of you are probably thinking, how much do I need to invest to start the application process? So Kathy is now going to share with us the promo, the discounts, and this is the most exciting part. Okay, so Kathy, would you like to share with us?
Yeah, lahat ng mga nag-attend this morning Zoom session, we have actually the names and the contact numbers we are giving. We don't normally do this, but since we want to promote education in New Zealand, lahat ng interesado mag-aral sa New Zealand, you will get additional 20,000 pesos discount. So we will discuss that further sa office. So that's 20,000 pesos discount as long as you have attended the Zoom session this morning. So
Wow.
please tell the managers about that.
So where else can you get that 20,000 peso discount, guys? And also, Kathy, is it okay for me to just mention my friends? Because I have a lot of friends in the room right now.
Yes.
Guys, you heard it from Kathy. If you are really interested, because she's offering a massive discount, if you want to make that big jump, you know, to move to New Zealand for further studies, this is the time. So if you have any questions, for those of you who joined this session through Consult Asia, feel free to message me and I'll be happy to refer you to Kathy directly, and she'll look after you. She'll make sure that every step of the way you are guided. Okay? So any more questions, guys? If there are no more questions, would you like to say like a closing your closing remarks, Kathy.
There is one question from the chat box. The
Oh, okay.
validity of the discount. So we can give the
Oh, okay.
20,000 pesos discount as long as you can submit your initial requirements on or before July 8th.
Oh, wow.
So
So
that's
that's
20, yeah,
Mhm.
just the diploma,
good.
transcript of records,
Mhm.
resume. So contact the branch manager, and if you are really interested, submit the requirements on or before July 8th to get additional 20,000 pesos discount. I just would like to thank Tinette, the participants who joined this
Mhm.
morning, our guest. I'm very happy to, get the testimony from Reggie. Ang bilis ng panahon. 2015, kausap ko lang siya sa Cebu branch, and now he's already a New Zealand resident. Na-meet ko pa yung family niya at yung kambal. And I would like to thank Sarah and Iya for participating this morning. Okay,
Right.
and thank you, Tinette. So I would like to thank also New Zealand Education for partnering with us to promote New Zealand education in the Philippines.
Right. Okay, so thank you very much for that, Kathy. And we at Consult Asia Global, we're very privileged to be partnered with World Connect with this collaborative effort of helping our fellow Filipinos study in New Zealand and hopefully have a much brighter future for your family. So I think we will have do we have time for a couple of Q&A here? Would you like to answer some questions?
Yeah, maybe we can answer 2 to 3 questions.
Yeah, okay. So ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in. We have space for 1 or 2 more questions. Yeah. And if not, just feel free to visit the World Connect Facebook page and message everybody. And also for the Consult Asia team, thank you so much they're all monitoring us from all around the world, from the UK, Canada, and Australia as well. So with that, Kathy, I think it's about, there's one more.
Hindrance ba sa visa officer yung pagsabay ng family? So again, if you will be studying masters, it's okay to bring your family right away. So walang problema. As long as you will study masters, you can bring your spouse and kids with you right away. And yes, you can pass the requirements by mail and you can still avail the discount. Okay? Tinette, thank you so much. Si Tinette and Consult Asia Global ang gumagawa ng pre-departure orientation sa lahat ng clients namin before they fly to New Zealand, Australia, or Canada. So Tinette is the one doing the PDOS, the pre-departure orientation. So Consult Asia Global is the training partner of World Connect.
Right. Thank you so much, Kathy. And to everybody, thank you so much. And we all hope that your New Zealand dream will all come true. All right. So with that, it's time to say goodbye. Have a lovely day. Have a great weekend to everybody. Kathy and the World Connect team, thank you very much. And to our guests today, Reggie, Sarah, and Iya, thank you so much to you guys for giving us such an informative webinar this morning. So with that, again, my name is Tinette Cortez from Consult Asia Global, and I wish you all a great weekend. Bye.
Do you always wonder what it would be like to live in a better place with loved ones by your side? Set aside your worries and all complexities. Let us guide you so you will feel at ease. Your dream of a better life is reachable. At World Connect, we'll make it possible. World Connect, your visa to a better future. World Connect, you can have the life that you desire. World Connect, will get you there. World Connect. World Connect, prioritize your needs. We'll help convenience and our expertise. Let us guide you in your journey to your dreams. Your wish to be in a better place is reachable. And World Connect will make it possible. World Connect, your visa to a better future. World Connect, you can have the life that you desire. World Connect will get you there. World Connect. World Connect, your visa to a better future. World Connect, you can have the life that you desire. World Connect.